like Bernie Sanders, and I really wish he wins because he's the only big shot that I know that said he would never accept the money from the big ones, the banks and Wall Street and all that. He will not, because he knows that if he takes that money, nobody gives you money like that for nothing. You are going to owe them, and they expect you to do favors, and I don't want that. That put me on him right away, right off the bat.
All right, so here we go. Welcome to the first I Am the Walrus podcast from Casa Stella. Today we'll be broadcasting from our wine cave, also known as Timmy's room. We don't have our bottle of Thunderbird out today because we drank it. And although it's not $900 a bottle, you can get a truckload of that shit for $900. We are an unapologetic progressive website, a progressive podcast. We are unapologetic Bernie supporters. We are Bernie or bust. A little bit about ourselves. My name is Charlie. I am the Fat Dad, P-H-A-T, because I can bust a move. I am a former window cleaner 150 pounds ago. 9.5 years union window cleaner on 50-story scaffolds. I was a bouncer. I unloaded watermelons as a kid. I delivered papers, blah, blah, blah. I was a criminal. And somewhere along the line, I taught myself how to type and became a word processor. I also am an author. I have some books published. I am still a word processor. And now I'm a rock star. So the bottom line about this, we're going to have 6 segments to this particular program, the first one. And a little bit more, I was brought up in a very democratic, very liberal household. My sister was gay. It wasn't an issue. My father was a little wacky about it, but he got over it. We always voted Democrat until Bill Clinton's second term. When Bill Clinton's second term came around and he basically became a Republican, I walked away from the Democratic Party. I walked into a pile of shit by supporting George Bush and supporting the Iraq War, which was a huge mistake. And a lot of people told me it was a huge mistake. I didn't listen to them. That said, when Barack Obama became president, I didn't vote for him. I took a break from voting. And when he bombed 5 Muslim countries that never did anything to us, when he never got us out of the wrong war in the wrong place at the wrong time, what he had campaigned on, when he didn't put on his comfortable shoes and walk picket lines with unions like the Wisconsin Public Workers Union, when he became the deporter-in-chief, etc., not one of those people who told me how wrong I was about the Iraq War ever made a peep. At most, they were disappointed. So I became a socialist. I actually learned about socialism on my honeymoon, my first honeymoon a long time ago. But I had 2 degrees, both of them absolutely useless in the so-called free market, but invaluable to me as a person. I am now a Bernie supporter. I was in 2016. I was Bernie or bust then. I am Bernie or bust now. And we'll give you our reasons for that. I know a lot of people don't like that. They don't like to hear that because it's a vote for Trump. That's a crock of shit. So that's me for now. And here I turn to my daughter. Why are you Bernie or bust, Nicole?
I'm Bernie or bust because, I guess let's first get into how Bernie woke me up, because that's I was completely uninterested in politics for most of my life. I think I voted Republican once. I voted Democrat. I considered myself a libertarian for like 10 minutes. And I quickly realized that nobody really gave a shit about me, neither party. Basically, the Democrats and the Republicans are just one party, one corporate party. And they didn't care about my life and about the working class and the poor. So I became really disinterested. And then Bernie came along, and he was angry, and he was honest. And for the first time in my life, here was somebody fighting for the little people, telling me that I had value, that I shouldn't just be working to make somebody else rich, that I have rights in this country, even though I'm just a secretary. A fact that I was ashamed of for a really long time. I was ashamed of just being a secretary. I never, ever, ever cared about having the biggest house on the block. I never cared about having a fancy car, taking, trips to, crazy exotic places. All I wanted was to have my family and to have experiences, life experiences. And that just, it seemed to be enough in this country because, here it's all about chasing money. It's all about the relentless pursuit of profit. And it just didn't interest me. And Bernie came along and said, yeah, well, it shouldn't. You're not a machine. You don't have to make somebody else rich to feel like you have any kind of value. And that really spoke to me, especially when he started talking about healthcare. Nanny's nursing home, there was a nurse who had 3 children, and the nursing home cut her hours to just below what she needed to get healthcare through the nursing home. So here's this woman working a hard, selfless job, and she had no healthcare, and she had to get a second job so that her kids had healthcare, so that some rich fuck can get another house or a better car. And I just never understood that. And Bernie brought that all back up. He brought that up to me. He put it right in my face and said that, yeah, this is unacceptable and you shouldn't accept this because you are a human being with rights. And that's what woke me up. And then from that, I just started to become more of a critical thinker. I started to challenge the narrative, especially during the 2016 election when the media was trashing Bernie or not covering him at all, or calling for a second Cold War. I mean, Jesus Christ, they were trying to manipulate me in any way not to vote for him.
Not to mention rigging the primaries.
So I had a choice to make. Was I going to vote for somebody who clearly didn't want my vote, who didn't care, Hillary Clinton, for somebody who turned Libya into an open slave market, or was I going to vote my conscience? And thanks to Bernie, I mean, he didn't really sanction the Bernie or Bust movement, but thanks to him, I chose to vote third party. I chose to vote for Jill Stein because I could not reward that party, the Democratic Party, with my vote for their corruption. It was not happening, and it's not going to happen this year either.
And we went to a Jill Stein rally, me, you, and
powerful.
Anthony. By the way, Anthony is the production end of this. He does all the hard work. We just sit up here and bullshit. But remember that? We went to see Jill Stein.
It was amazing.
And
very moving and
that Russian asset.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, can you believe that to this day, people believe that a picture of us at a table where Putin was seated is now proof positive that she's a Russian asset?
That she's a Russian spy. Yeah, that she's...
And Tulsi, a major in the armies, also
served
a Russian
2 tours
spy.
in Iraq, is also part of the Kremlin. Yeah, it's just...
It's ridiculous.
It's
absolutely
insane.
Ridiculous. So, let's move on. We gave our little speeches there on that. But now we want to get into a little bit about how CNN and MSNBC, the corporate media, the same people that own all the corporations in the world, own all the media in the world.
The reason why we're doing what we're doing today.
Exactly, is to give a
podcast.
progressive voice.
Yeah.
And the reality is that they continue to black out Bernie. When he rises in the polls, when they have their hit jobs done on him, the smear jobs done on him, his numbers go up. He is the inspirational candidate. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And as we turn around now, the latest couple of, scandals, the Bernie smears, we had Elizabeth Warren lie through her teeth on national TV. And there's that great Facebook meme of her saying, "I think you called me a liar on national TV." And then Bernie turns to her and says, "Let's not discuss it here. Let's discuss it in your teepee." Which is the kind of thing that Trump will use against her in a debate over and over, the Pocahontas bullshit. But she does lie. She lied about being a Native American on a Texas bar registration. She lied about why she had to leave her job as a teacher. She lied about her father being a judge. I mean, it's just nonsense. We know what she is, and that's why her numbers have fallen apart, because that hit job that she tried on the debate was just, it was pathetic. Then you have, the queen of mean, Hillary Clinton comes out. And when she came out and said nobody likes Bernie, it was the funniest thing in the world, because when you looked at Hillary Clinton's crowds from 2016 and Bernie Sanders' crowds, I mean, there's no comparison whatsoever. So, and now the latest one is, Joe Rogan, who can upset people sometimes. I mean, I happen to like Joe Rogan's podcast. I actually made a couple comments on the last one he had with Bill Maher. I know they're friends. That's his right to have him as a friend. I can't stand Bill Maher. But, he said some things, off-color things in the past, and immediately they attacked Bernie because Rogan endorsed Bernie. Well, go back to 2016 when a fucking war criminal, Henry Kissinger, and he is a war criminal, everybody knows it, turns around and endorses Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton says she's proud that he was his mentor. And I'll never forget Bernie in debate saying, like, I would never be proud to have Henry Kissinger be my foreign policy mentor. But anyway, those are some of them. And now we got Joe Biden calling Bernie a liar, and that's hilarious. I mean, it's just hilarious. You got how many YouTube videos of Joe Biden saying he was going to hold, stall, cut medical, Social Security, Medicare, Medicare, his bullshit in the debates about not being for the Iraq war. Are you fucking kidding me? I posted a bunch on Facebook this week about how many times he did say that he was a total salesman for Bush on the Iraq war. And speaking of the Iraq war, tell us about Phil Donahue and what they did to him.
Well, I actually have a quote from MSNBC from one of their memos that they sent around. So Phil Donahue used to have a lot of anti-war voices on his primetime show, which I think was pretty high rated, right? Yeah, it was a highly rated show. And an internal MSNBC memo went around saying that Donahue was a difficult public face for NBC in a time of war, providing a home for the liberal anti-war agenda, at the same time that our competitors are waving the flag at every opportunity. So he had guests on who didn't want to murder people for oil, and MSNBC just couldn't handle it.
They fired him.
They chopped him. Yeah,
it's like Ed Schultz. Ed Schultz defended Bernie Sanders, was a Sanders supporter in 2016. Bye, Ed. Ed has passed on. But, the reality is that the corporate media wants nothing to do with anybody who won't take corporate contributions. So you have the major military-industrial complex corporations, Boeing, Raytheon, et cetera. You have half of them own half of the media corporations. And it's all the same money. It's all filtered into the actual contributions to both political parties. And so Democrats can't imagine having a candidate who won't take that money. And he won't take that money because he's only taking money from people who can afford to send $20, $50, whatever it is. Back in 2016, I was a big Bernie supporter. I put a lot of money into his campaign. I did a weightlifting fundraiser for him. I was all over Facebook for him. And when the convention came along, this is after it was already exposed that by WikiLeaks that the primary was rigged. It was heartbreaking for me to see Bernie support Hillary Clinton. I just couldn't take it. So I also ran to Joe. And to Jill Stein, because this was just too much for me. I was very angry with Bernie, actually. And I swore this time that I wouldn't support Bernie with money or much effort outside of Facebook because of the DNC. And what I fully expect to happen is that they will pull the rug out from under him again. But hopefully Bernie gets enough pledge delegates, enough support that they know it'll be a suicidal move to let the superdelegates, which is made up of politicians, lobbyists, and other political insiders, all beholden to corporate coin. So if they turn around and take the nomination from him and give it to someone like Joe fucking Biden, not only will they lose again, it'll be a replay of 2016, but they won't see a dime from me. Now, that said, when Hillary opened her mouth last week, I gave my first $50 pledge to Bernie because of the new campaign, because I hate that fucking woman. I mean, I do. I fucking hate her. Tell me something.
Well, I agree.
Tell me why I shouldn't.
No, I agree. I forgave him a lot sooner than you did.
Yeah.
So I only because he woke me up, and I'm extremely grateful for him, because I'm ashamed of how indoctrinated I was.
We all were.
Yeah, I mean, we're taught very young not to
pledge.
question authority and not to do your own research and
pledge allegiance.
And to pledge allegiance. And yeah, I was totally indoctrinated, and he snapped me out of it, thank God. So I was a little more forgiving, a little quicker than you were.
Yeah.
So I started donating a
lot
little bit
quicker.
sooner. A lot quicker. And I actually just signed up to do texting for his campaign. I haven't done it yet because I've been getting ready for the podcast. But tomorrow I'll probably do my first texting session.
Right. You know, this is what it's all about: getting people active and supporting causes that you believe in. Which brings us to vote blue, no matter who. Because to me, that's the most cowardly bullshit in the world. Voter shaming. You know. We're going to get into it in another segment of the program about the eradication of our First Amendment rights, speech and boycotting. Bipartisan eradication. Both parties completely complicit in stripping us of First Amendment rights. It is so freaking atrocious. It is hard to sit there and say land of the free anymore. But vote blue no matter who. The nerve. The fucking nerve on people to assume that
they're owed my vote.
Yes.
Like I'm like, what have you done for me in the past 40 years?
You know, it took me a while to come to terms with the fact that I made mistakes by supporting a war. You know, I will never support a war again. If we're not attacked, I don't ever want to hear of a preemptive war again in my life. You know, the fact that all the muscling we do around the world, whether we're overthrowing governments, Henry Kissinger, Allende, Chile, whether we're, you know, just fucking up the Middle East, we're the war criminals. There's no getting around it. We're the people that bomb other people that can't bomb us back. I mean, it's just a fact of life.
Yeah, we're not the good guys.
You know, we're not in these wars. They're illegal, they're immoral, and they're never ending. And that's the other thing. So to say to me that I have to accept the fact that Democrats looked the other way when Obama bombed 5 more countries, making it a total of 7. Now we're up to 8 or 9, because Trump he's a piece of shit too. I mean, we all know what he is. But he's actually stepped up the drone strikes, and not only the one a few weeks ago where we almost got us into World War III, but you know.
Well, that's where, you know, they want my vote so bad. They want my vote so bad. You have to vote blue, vote blue. We need, you know, Democrats. And I don't know. I don't want a Democrat who's giving him all the money in the world to start these fucking
Elizabeth
wars.
Warren.
Like Elizabeth Warren and Klobuchar, I'm sure.
Klobuchar, absolutely. These are people who got on stage in a debate like Elizabeth Warren and spoke to the military budget is out of control. 2 weeks before that, she signed on. She voted for the military budget. The last military budget, they gave him more than he asked for.
Yeah.
That's the Democratic Party. I mean, we know what the Republican Party is. They shouldn't even be acknowledged. But the fact of the matter is, they are supposed to be the People's Party, the Democratic Party. The resistance. How do you call yourself a resistance when you give this piece of shit that you call a
Everything
monster
he
that doesn't know
wants.
his ass from his elbow? He's you know, just an idiot, and we all know that. You're giving him more money for his toys, military toys, than anybody else in the history of the country. And then you turn around and you give him surveillance license to just continue this bullshit Patriot Act. Now he makes an executive order. You can't criticize Israel. You know, it's a fucking crime. It's a hate crime. Give me a break. We'll get into that in a little while about the First Amendment eradication. But yeah, we've reached a point where the Democratic Party just does not, I cannot mentally put my head behind the Democratic Party when they are a corporatist party, they are a warmongering party. You know, people say it's a purity test. That just shows me how much the Democratic Party has moved to the right, because that used to be what the right wing screamed at liberals, at liberal Democrats. Oh, you have to have a purity test. Now Democrats have become very comfortable with not only war, but calling progressives, our purity test. No, it's not a purity test. If this is the world we live in and you don't want to change it, fuck you. Vote for whoever you want. I'm voting for whoever I want. And it is not going to be Elizabeth Warren. It is not going to be Joe Biden. It is not going to be Pete Buttigieg. It's not going to be any of the other clowns, the 2 millionaires in a race. It's Bernie or bust.